Hi, this is Tim with Big Dog Forge. Welcome to Tales from the Dark Side of the Shop. While there are certainly poorly lit areas of the shop, who's to say the dark side of the shop isn't merely a state of mind? Welcome, and I hope you enjoy.
The Big Dog Forge is in Wisconsin, and he sent me something. Here's Fred's knife, and see.
As I dissected the package in anticipation,
What's inside?
I was thinking of Fred. Was it a fleeting memory of an old friend? Or was it an omen?
Looks like one of them broke open.
Was he trying to warn me?
Ball bearings. Very cool. Nice shiny ball bearings. There's a lot of them in there. Escapees. What are these? Bigger ball bearings. Very cool. Alright. It's like our lid broke, but none of them escaped. Pretty cool.
I was so excited, like a kid at Christmas. I was excited to get this package so I could get started on a project I'd been thinking about for a while. If I'd only known where this was going to lead.
Alright, we got a note. Note. It's 2 5/16, grade 100, type 440 SS. Not stainless steel. Oh, Grayson, thanks, buddy. I have a project I want to do, and needed some ball bearings for it. I think we're going to use these right now. Alright, let's go.
Alright guys, here we go. We've got a shell casing that we're going to be using as a canister on this one. I thought it'd be kind of fun. And it's a 25 millimeter thing. It was a practice round tracer, and it's still got the little primer brass in there. We'll have to drill that out later. So we're going to go over to Sparky the belt grinder, and we're going to spark test this thing up against some 1084, and we're going to see what kind of sparks it throws. Because my plan here is to use part of that canister as the tang and the sort of the ricasso area of the knife. I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a shell casing there. Now it looks like it's got quite a bit of carbon in it, so we're going to move forward with that. The back end of this shell casing is about 5/8 of an inch thick. It's really thick back there. So if I can get that to weld up to the billet, if the rest of the canister goes away, it's alright. Alright. We had it in muriatic acid overnight to get everything cleaned off and out of it. As I was painstakingly prepping the piece to go into the fire, my nerves were like a thin piece of cloth stretched too tightly over broken shards of glass. It was unnerving. I couldn't shake it. It was gnawing at the back of my mind. Outside, it keeps them nice and slick when they're out on the range. And we want all that gone. So I didn't show it here, but once this thing scaled up a little bit, I put it back in the lathe and ran some sandpaper down on the inside. So it's nice and clean on the inside. We're going to weld up our hole where the primer was in this thing. And we'll grind that flat. There we go. And we're going to put a handle on that in a minute. Okay, so we got Drayson's ball bearings here. And we got some 1084 powder. Now, 440 ball bearings, I've seen them before and I've read about them, and I looked on the internet and I couldn't find anything that says that 440 ball bearings are not stainless steel. So I have a suspicion they are, and this may just turn out terribly bad. I don't know. So I've never had any luck with stainless steel ball bearings before doing much of anything, but we're going to give it a shot. So we get all this stuff tapped down in there. Our ball bearings all bouncing around in there. What I did is I cut a stainless steel plug, 25 millimeter, to put into the end of this thing. And the stainless steel should not weld to the billet itself. And during pressing and hammering this out, that stainless steel plug should just pop off the end, and I won't have to grind it off. I put a few too many balls in there. Couldn't get the plug in. There we go. We formulate an idea in our mind. We go through the pieces and the parts, and we assemble it, and we reassemble it in our brain, giving ourselves some sense of security that we can accomplish the task we've set out for ourselves, knowing that it's false security and that at any moment it could crash horribly and things could go terribly wrong, and probably will. Not going to weld as well in that area, so there may be a little bit of loss there, but it's only the first, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch or so of the shell casing, so we're hoping for the best here, providing those ball bearings are something that will actually forge weld. We'll find out. Alrighty, now we're going to go into the forge with this thing, and we're going to heat it up, and we're going to go ahead and flux it. And it's because that canister, that shell casing, is pretty thin, and I don't want it just scaling away and everything coming apart in the forge. So we're going to get this thing nice and fluxed up to welding temperature, and you can see how the bottlenecked into this canister cooled off quite a bit. There's a little more space in there at the other end, so we're going to drive that down a little bit, bring it up to welding temperature. I think I did 4 times. Got into the power hammer and then back under the press, and you can still see those ball bearings kind of showing themselves through that canister. And we're going to take this down in sort of increments, a little bit at a time, and then reheat it and bring it back, go a little further. I don't want to go too far with it in case there's any separations. I don't want to crack anything. But as I'm saying that, just as we're doing this, I saw some cracks starting to develop in that canister. Now it was thin, and it had been stretched a long way by this time. So I expected, a few cracks in it here and there.
Do we simply tell ourselves what we need to hear? Is it that self-reassurance that moves us forward, or is it something more? Are we simply poking at that fragile thing that we call sanity?
There we go. And we're going to get this thing over to the mill, and we're going to mill off all 4 sides. And we got a little crack going there. It's pretty deep. I'll let it cool down here, normalize a little bit. Alright, and into the mill. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and mill off all 4 sides of this thing so that we can get a real good idea of how many cracks, fissures, pits, any separations, delaminations, inclusions, and the list goes on. And we got our fingers crossed the whole time. And we'll get this thing over to the grinder. And you can see the cut marks there a little bit from the surfacing tool. But I'm also noticing some cracks showing up. So I didn't film it here, but I take it away and off over to the vise, and I grind out as many cracks as I can see at this point. So it ends up looking a little lumpy in a couple of places, and you'll see that here in a second. I'll bring it back and finish dressing it up right here. And you can see some of those areas that I ground away. There were quite a few cracks in this thing, and it was I don't know, at this point I'm thinking that I may not be able to get rid of all the cracks in it.
It's some misguided instinctual persistence that pushes us to walk this path of destruction we shouldn't be on.
And a lot of way there. That big divot up to the top. Alright, so we're looking like we got quite a few pits. Don't know how deep they go. We got some pretty good cracks. And that was a deep thing that I had to grind out. So we're going to see if we can try to salvage a piece of this and keep moving forward.
It makes us wonder whether the salvage operation we're talking about here refers to the billet or the mind.
Alright, so we're going to cut this guy off right there, and we're going to see what we can squeeze out of the rest of this bar. At this point, it's just a little over 12 inches long, 13 inches long. And we got a big divot in the middle of it, but we're going to keep moving forward with this thing. I think we can work around that a little bit.
And it looks like we got another small crack forming. Let's see if we can get a picture of it right there. You can see that. Not too bad, not too bad. As the small cracks start forming in our reality, does it happen slowly? Is it something that we notice? Does it happen over time? And who's to say where these cracks will appear in the beginning and where it will end?
And the rest of it looks pretty good. Don't see any cracks, fissures, any of that. So I think we can hammer a little knife out of this pretty easily. Alright, back to the power hammer. We're going to draw this guy out and then plenish him up a little bit. Get him back over to the press. We'll put a little tang on this end. We still have the end that had the shell casing on it, and that material is still intact. So we'll see how this all works out. I think we should have enough for a nice little tang, enough shell casing wrapping up around this ball bearing Damascus. We should be able to get something pretty cool out of it. Alright, and we're just going to spend some time on the anvil hammering out something that resembles a knife shape. Yeah, keep her nice and clean. And the heat went out of this stuff pretty quickly, so it took a few heats to get where I wanted to go with it. I'm going to spread it out a little bit, so I hammered in some bevels a little bit. And I wanted to keep it as warm as I could to prevent any further cracking, any problems, issues, things like that.
Every time we go to the anvil, we pick up our hammer. It's the same hammer, the same anvil. We strike iron the same way, and we expect a different result every time. Insanity? Maybe.
Seemed to work out pretty well.
You tell yourself it's not that bad. You tell yourself, just keep going. You can fix it. You convince yourself. And I do. What a fool.
So it doesn't look that bad. I think we can grind the edge of that out and it'll be just fine. So we're going to give it a nice final straighten here. Keep an eye on that crack a little bit. Didn't get any worse. Get her over to Sparky and grind this thing down into something that looks a little bit more like a knife. So with what we got left, the blade ended up being 6 inches long and the tang is just at 3 inches long. So I think that'll work. So we got the makings of a pretty good little utility knife, something like that. And as I'm grinding it, the crack in the edge goes away. And there's no pits, no inclusions. It looks really good. Nice solid piece of metal. Let's see what it looks like coming out of this. This will give us a good idea of what the finished grind is going to look like. And if you look closely, you can see that canister wrapped up around from the tang, which is kind of cool. And those things look just weird. It's kind of neat looking, but I don't know, they look like some kind of weird worms, larvae, something, I don't know. It's kind of strange. Alright.
So, we took it over to the grinder and we cleaned it up. You know, the kind of thing you want to do just before heat treat. You get rid of as much material as you can without making it too thin. You smooth it out. Save yourself the trouble for after it's hardened. So into the forge we go.
Alright guys, so we bring this thing up to critical temperature, a little bit above that. You know, treating it like 1084. And not really sure what the ball bearings are going to do. But it didn't get hard. It's like soft. Like it didn't even, you know, come close to it. So we brought the temperature up another few hundred degrees. And we get the same thing. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. So, alright, we'll give it a shot again. And we brought it up to about 1800 degrees this time. See what's going to happen here. A little over 18, and it's still soft as it ever was, which is really, really weird. Okay, I'll give it a shot again.
I'd quenched the blade 5 times. The battery on the camera had gone dead. For those of you with a weak constitution, you may want to turn away. As I was dredging through the oil, attempting to recover the other half of the broken body, I realized that quench after quench had built up a massive amount of stress, much like the stress in my mind, and the blade simply snapped.
Man, that's enough to drive you crazy. I don't know. Hey guys, thanks for watching Tales from the Dark Side of the Shop. We'll bring you another video real soon.
You broke the knife.
Sometimes the dark side wins, what can I say?
And you liked it, didn't you?
Look dude, I put up with you through the entire video because you wanted your day on YouTube. Now, come on.
You do realize that you're talking to yourself?
Look, we all have doubts about our abilities. That doesn't mean we're going to stop doing what we're doing, just to listen to someone like you.
You should really see someone about this condition. It's not healthy.
Okay, say goodbye.
Thanks for watching. And if you like what you saw, consider like, share, and subscribe. And perhaps check out some of the other videos at Big Dog Forge. See you next time.
Thanks guys. Take care. Be safe. That guy's an idiot. See ya.